Welcome to the Growing Your Business podcast, a program created to answer the question, what's in it for me, for both the business and their customers. Today's guest had this to say.
Do you have a backup plan? If you were to, heaven forbid, be hit by a bus tomorrow,
Right.
What is your backup plan? Who is going to be able to run your organization as well as you can?
Yeah.
And usually business owners tell me nobody can run it as well as I can. And most of the time they are.
Yeah.
But if you have surrounded yourself with wonderful people and you have a plan B, then you don't have to worry.
Now, stay tuned as we hear more on their values, mission, and why they continue to grow their business. Joining me today on the Growing Your Business podcast is Susan Hubbard with Herculean HR. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, buddy?
Good. And I got the name right, correct?
Yes.
A big
Doing
fan
amazing.
of getting that right. Excellent. So, Susan, we're here in the studio, and I want to know, as we're sitting here together, what services do you offer your customers? I mean, HR is kind of a broad thing. So, specifically, what is it that you do?
Well, I love to put small business owners and medium-sized business owners at an incredible advantage with all human resource related items. So when it comes to human capital management, looking for the best people to recruit, onboarding, and also policy development, handbook writing. If you have those sticky employee situations, that's one of my biggest areas that I get calls about. What do you do when you have that employee who is really struggling and you don't know how to approach that conversation? That's a big one. I also focus on payroll and regulatory compliance. So there are OSHA reports that have to be done every year, depending on your industry. Labor law compliance is a huge one too. Even though we're in the state of Texas, I can help those that are in other states, and a lot of states that are more stringent when it comes to those labor laws, and navigating that. What does that look like? Performance management is also another area that I can counsel in, and looking at succession planning. Do you have a backup plan? If you were to, heaven forbid, be hit by a bus tomorrow, what is your backup plan? Who is going to be able to run your organization as well as you can? Yeah. And usually business owners tell me nobody can run it as well as I can. No.
I'm the genius.
Yes. And most of the time they are.
Yeah.
But if you have surrounded yourself with wonderful people and you have a plan B, then you don't have to worry. I also focus on health and welfare benefits and the compliance that is alongside of that. I mean, we all know about the Affordable Care Act and making sure if we have 50 full-time equivalents that we're going to get, we're staying within the bounds of the law. I also do a lot of consulting when it comes to payroll platforms and helping you as a business owner find what's the best fit for you, because not every system is created equally, right?
Every business is different too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you may have different needs and different packages that are available. So talking about that is a huge part. Also, I mean, there's so much. There's so much with human resources.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of the different types of businesses you serve. What are your, I'd say kind of list them up, what are, at the top of your head, what are the types of businesses that come to you for help?
The types of businesses that come to me for help are usually small to mid-sized companies where they may be just starting out, or I even have clients that have been around for 15, 20 plus years, but they've never hired anyone, or they are just now looking to grow and develop their company because they've just been a mom and pop shop for the longest time.
It sounds like a family business that's never truly hired an outside person into the family business.
Maybe two partners that have teamed up together and have a great vision, but don't know exactly where they're supposed to start. So there's that piece. Now, another piece that I look at is if you're a large company, as you know, employment law can be very complex, and understanding what you should do as far as abiding by those laws and not having to worry about calling an attorney for $750 an hour, is a great way, and a great way for me to be helpful. Even if it's bouncing ideas off and saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this with an existing HR department, I can help them feel confident in the decisions that they're making going forward.
What is the typical discovery, as in, how do they figure out they need your services? When they pick up the phone and call you, what are they saying to you?
Most of the time, it is an employee relations related matter. Talking about or I have an unemployment claim. I just received this letter in the mail and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
How do I respond to this? And what is exactly needed? And so I can coach them through that. A lot of companies out there as well, we usually start with an employee handbook. The employee handbook is a great place to have all of your policies in it so that in the event if something happens, then you're able to reference that document and say, hello, like these are the important policies that we know that we are enforcing. So what I find is with an employee handbook, the tone of the organization is set. We talk about mission, vision, values,
Right.
all of those incredible parts that make up a company, and then cater it and modify it to what the culture of the company is.
Right.
So those are usually the calls saying, I don't have a handbook.
Right.
What do I do? Or I have a problem employee. What do I do? And we start with those conversations. And also, a lot of times employers will say to me, well, I only have 1099 contractors working for me. And I'm thinking I may be writing that fine line between classifying them as W-2 versus keeping them 1099. So that's a really common question that I get a lot.
What roughly are, and because the laws may change by the time someone hears it, what are the approximate, there's a fence in the middle between a W-2 and a 1099. How do you cross that? You say you have a regular contractor. Is it roughly a certain amount of hours per week? Are you supplying them equipment? I mean, give me some parameters, but it doesn't have to be specific. We're not talking laws here.
No, that's okay. It's a wonderful question, Buddy. So when it comes to that, they're not a set number of hours or anything like that. However, when you think about classifying a contractor versus an employee, you think in broad picture terms. Are you requiring them that they follow a schedule? Are you requiring that they bring their own equipment? Are they answering to you or making business decisions on their own? And also, are you providing training for them? That's a very big one. So if you are
a big red flag,
a huge red flag.
Yeah.
I mean, a person that's 1099 should be very skilled at their trade or their service, correct?
Yeah.
So if you are trying to guide them or lead them and help them make decisions, or you're making a goal as far as, well, here's the project and I want you to accomplish it, but you're giving them specifics on what they need to do or even following a schedule, you're really, really diving into some gray. So you're blurring the lines.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, definitely. And so I imagine there are penalties because I think the contractor eventually can probably file something that gets you in trouble. Is that something that happens?
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
Well, it can look like a 1099 contractor going to the Department of Labor and saying, I have been misclassified and I should have been paid as a W-2 employee. I've received training. I have company issued equipment
You're driving a company car.
Yes, I'm driving a company car.
Yeah.
I am required to adhere to a schedule. All those things that I mentioned before are areas. So they can go to the Department of Labor and they can file a complaint to say I've been misclassified. And then, of course, the Department of Labor is obligated to go and audit that business. And guess what? On top of the risk of having a 1099 blow the whistle on you, the Department of Labor also audits 9,000 companies a day throughout the United States, small, medium, large-sized companies. So it's not a matter of if you're going to get audited someday, it's a matter of when.
You're going to get a call.
Yes.
Yep. If you have to use either 1099s or W-2s, at some point you're going to get that call. So.
Oh, you are, and you don't want the Department of Labor on your back.
Right. So make sure you have Susan on your Rolodex, and I know that ages me by even saying that, but it's like have them in your current smartphone, I guess, whatever your iPhone 47 or whatever they'll be in the future. Well, that's excellent. What got you into this? I mean, you don't wake up and say when you're 15 and go, I am going to be an HR professional. You're like, it is a path you chose. So talk me through your path.
Well, it's been an amazing path, to be honest with you, Buddy. I have always loved helping people. And when I was a little kid, and my mom will even tell you this, she always volunteered me to be the buddy of somebody, whether it was at school. Like I remember having foreign exchange students come to my school and them needing, somebody, a buddy to get to show them where to go and, understanding different things and helping them learn English, those kinds of things. And so from a very early age, my mom always taught me that I need to think about serving other people first and that I will be the most happy when I'm serving others. And she was right. So when I went through high school, I had an incredible journey there, and I thought that I wanted to be a nurse. I thought, I could be a nurse practitioner. I could be a nurse anesthetist. There are so many things I could do to help people, right? Well, then I got to rotate through different hospital departments in my high school career. Yeah. And I nearly passed out when I saw a PICC line being inserted. Yeah. So I was so thankful I found that out in high school rather than going into college. So after I realized maybe the medical field isn't exactly where I need to be. It's not
for everyone.
No, it's not. Mm-hmm. Then I said, well, what can I do? So I went to college and I got my bachelor's degree in psychology from Texas Women's University. Okay. And I graduated in 2011 with my bachelor's in science. And so I was super excited, and I wanted to go to grad school because I thought I'm going to be a therapist. I'm gonna get a doctorate in psychology. I will be Dr. Hercules. Mm-hmm. Hercules is my maiden name, by the way.
Oh, terrific. Okay. Yes. That makes sense. Yeah.
So
terrific.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Like a really strong name. I can help people. Like everybody will know who I am.
Yep.
And that they can rely on me. So I applied for grad school, and guess what? I didn't get in.
Really?
I didn't.
That's a path picking you, basically. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
So yes. Yeah. You have those hurdles in your life and you're thinking, why? Yep. But then I met my husband a couple months later.
Oh, well, that's great.
And we've been married for almost 13 years next month. Yeah. So thank you. Yay. So I thought, what can I do with a bachelor's degree in psychology? And I thought I can go into human resources.
You bet. That's great.
And I didn't look back.
Stay with us. The Growing Your Business podcast will return right after this. The Growing Your Business podcast is sponsored in part by Visual Learning Solutions. Stands out with its expertise in crafting immersive audio and video experiences. Their creative team has over 30 years of experience delivering dynamic internal training programs tailored to various industries. They ensure the audience receives a compelling message, promotes brand awareness, and increases return on investment. They also excel in producing marketing content. Learn more at their website, visuallearningsolutions.com. Please check our show notes for sponsorship links and additional details. Now, back to the Growing Your Business podcast with Buddy Broyles. How long have you been in the profession? Since 2011 approximately, right?
Yeah.
That whole time.
I did a stint in, my very first job out of college. I was an account services manager for a language interpretation company, so it wasn't really human resources related.
Still really interesting.
It was because we helped people on a very large scale, and I supported account managers and things like that. So it was really interesting, and I learned a ton. Yeah. But then after that, I said to myself, I really want to dive into human resources. So I did, and so yes, since about 2012, I've
been at it a while.
Yes.
And I'm thinking you've seen some things.
Oh, yes.
So, from a story time, everybody. So I imagine you have a couple of stories that obviously we never mention names or whatnot, but it's either employers blindsided or employees blindsided. But you've gotten some interesting calls. Tell me about one or two of those.
Well, one of my favorite ones to talk about is regarding a client, a company that I consult with. They have different clinics throughout the United States, and one of their employees is a security guard, and in her job description, she has to sign it. She obviously knows what is required of her. Well, one day in the midst of her being on the clock, she sees a drug dealer in the parking lot and a drug deal going down, happening. Yeah. So rather than calling the authorities and getting the police to come, she took matters into her own hands and she decided to confront the drug dealer in the parking lot. She was pinned against the car, and he bashed her head. He really did a number on her. And if she wouldn't have been in a public setting, she probably would have been And so she, yelled for help, and thankfully people came to her rescue. And afterwards, when we were doing all of the investigation and seeing what's happened, how do we go forward? And are you highly injured? Do you need a workers' comp, claim? What do we need to do to help you get back to being whole? She decided she was going to sue the company. And she, not only with workers' comp, she wanted to also sue the company for PTSD and emotional damage. And come to find out as well, at the time, she was 6 weeks pregnant.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you couple all of that together, you may think, there's no way I'm going to be able to get through this situation. And when you talk about laws and retaliation and filing workers' comp claims, and if you were to dismiss an employee or fire an employee because they filed a workers' comp claim, that's discrimination under the law.
Right.
So how do you keep someone employed and not discriminate against them when they are actively pursuing a lawsuit against your company?
Yes.
It's very tricky.
Yeah, I bet.
You have to have the right people and the right staff, and they have to get trained properly. So I was able to help them navigate through this situation.
Yeah.
And
don't tell me the outcome. I want to tell our listeners, you have to talk to Susan to hear the rest of the story.
Yes.
So check the show notes and get her contact and say, I want to hear the story about the security guard.
Yes.
Because and all it costs you, everybody, is a quick consultation with Susan to hear more of the story. So, but yeah, I'm like, ooh, what happened? We'll save that. That's called a cliffhanger, folks.
Yes.
So tell me a different one. So that one sounds like, I can predict, I think, what happened or whatnot, but I'm sure it was a slog. And that's the trick. That's where you come in, is you help them get through okay, this is going to take a while, and we've got to sort through a lot of different things from the legal understanding. And you mentioned like the employee handbook probably said something very clear. But also, there's a process, in investigations and whatnot. So you mentioned you might have another story. Let's hear a different situation.
I have such a wide range.
I
It
bet.
really depends
Oh
on
my gosh.
what tickles your fancy
Tales
today.
of HR.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I feel like I could
Yeah.
write a book. Let's see, another situation that I dealt with was another workers' comp issue. I had an employee or employee on the team that decided they wanted to put a bunch of thumbtacks in their mouth and swallowed one. Not sure exactly how it happened.
No, doesn't make any sense.
No, but I was thinking to myself, okay, if they're sitting at their desk and they have, maybe some snacks, maybe some Cracker Jacks even, because what feels like something that would be sharp that you
Very
could put in your
sharp pretzels?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. It's
Something
hard to get
like
into the
that.
mindset of someone who will put tacks in their mouth. But,
Yes.
But so on.
Yes, but you also, we have fidget spinners now,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So, everybody has their thing that they love to
Let's
do
say
at
they
work.
were so engaged in their job.
Yes.
But, there's lots of benefit of the doubt when in the HR field, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
again, don't give us the finale, but what was the process there?
Well, the process was that their supervisor calls me and says, well, I don't know what to do. I said, well, first, are they choking?
Yes.
Are they breathing? We need to make sure that they are staying alive.
Yes. Alive first. Yes.
And if they cannot breathe, you need to take them to an emergency room. That is life or limb threatening. So that was the process. But then when we found out that they were breathing fine, they were just a little bit worried, then we go down a different path. So they probably need to go to urgent care, probably have an x-ray. Where do we send them? We got to know where to send them, because not everybody is going to take this kind of case as a workers' comp claim, because it's workers' comp. It's a no-fault system.
Yeah, wow.
So so that's the cliffhanger of that, to say, okay, where did we go? Where did we send her? And how did it turn out?
Yeah. And after they hire you, they get story number 2.
Yes. Yes.
So consultation for the first story. Yeah, that's interesting. And I do highly encourage you. I had a property management person in on a previous episode, and he talked about writing a book about, when managing property, it's the same. You're dealing with people. and a wide range of people, and unemployed, employed, or whatnot. He mentioned he might write a book, and I was like, oh, please write a book. Absolutely write a book. And I said, for everybody listening to Susan and I right now, in the comments, encourage her. Write the book, Susan. Just write that down and give her the right encouragement. But you got a third story you're going to share with us.
So recently, I got a call from a client who has a wonderful company. They've been around for over 20 years, and they have a great staff, and they have a solid reputation. They're well known. And there was a loan officer who was very upset one day because he was not able to get all the paperwork needed in order to close a loan in the time frame that he was wanting.
Sure.
And so one day he walked up to who he thought was a loan processor who was in charge of most of the documents, and he cussed them out. Oh, no. Really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. And obviously very, very inappropriate in the workplace.
Sure.
But he did not think what he did was wrong. He thought this is what this person deserves, and this person wasn't even a loan processor.
Right.
They weren't touching the documents. They had no power over any of the process of the loan, other than trying to help the loan processor to organize and get things that were needed. So, so he cussed him out, and of course, other people were around. It was in an office setting.
It was witnessed,
and so after getting statements and looking at a bunch of different options, thinking, okay, we have a high performer here. This man brings a lot of business to our company.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that situation when you have a high performer that acts inappropriately?
Yeah. Cliffhanger. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yes.
Read all about it.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'll look forward to that. But these are all questions you deal with and answer over time and help each of the business owners, different sizes, navigate these clearly very turbulent waters. I love my little sailing analogies, but or nautical analogies. Oh, that flows nicely. We'll use that again sometime. But that's great. So tell me, contact wise, what's the best way to reach you? One, to get more stories, but obviously to start business with you, consult with you, and so on.
Well, you can reach me so many different ways. I have a wonderful website, www.herculeanhr.com.
Perfect.
You can visit. You can put a contact request out on my website. I also obviously check email.
Yeah, good.
My email address is susan@herculeanhr.com.
Great.
And then I also have a couple different ways to reach me. I'm happy to give my business phone number. It's
okay,
not
we'll
a
put that in
problem.
the show notes, just in case it updates later or whatnot. But everything you're sharing with me, we'll make sure is in the show notes. So if you're listening or watching or whatnot, just scroll down and the information's down below. Some of the links will be clickable, so just click right through. So parting thoughts, Susan. You shared a lot of really great stuff with us, but there are people. I'll use myself for example. I was like, I don't know that I need an HR person right now. I think I'm managing my team just fine, right? What would you say to me?
I would say to you, I understand it. I congratulate you for running your company really well. I also want you to know that even if you don't think that you need HR, if you are dealing with people, you probably do.
Yep.
And when we talk, my goal is to be your partner.
Yep.
You need a partner, a champion, and a cheerleader. And I am the most positive, passionate, and professional human resources person you will ever meet. So if you are looking and needing, some advice or even friendship, knowing that somebody cares about you, wants you to be successful in your company, then you need human resources.
Yep. The first word is human.
Yes. My motto is putting the human back in human resources.
That's wonderful.
My company motto.
That's great. Well, Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show today and just sharing the stories, sharing your knowledge, sharing your passion for what you do.
Thank you so much, Buddy, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today on the Growing Your Business podcast. Please see the show notes for links to our sponsors, our social media, and to learn more about today's guest.